What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Alan Halas. I'm a music writer.
And I'm Jim Love, and I'm a... oh my God, I forgot what I did. I'm a keynote and motivational speaker, and my brain just shut off for a second.
That's fine. That's fine. It's been a long day.
Yes, it has.
And we are here talking about people's side hustles and passions and all of those sorts of things.
We sure are.
Things you do on the side.
Yep,
yes.
yep. Not your day job, but your fun job.
Yes.
Well, your day job could also be fun, but your fun thing you do on the side, I'm going to dig myself a hole in that one. But
that's fine.
Either way, we're happy to be here. It is also that weird, so it's July 14th today, which is not going to be the day you're going to be listening to this, but it's that weird moment when sports, like there's not a whole lot going on right now.
I've been watching a lot of
NBA Summer League.
NBA Summer League.
Yes.
I get up real early in the morning, and the FIBA World Cup, the international basketball tournament is happening.
Yeah.
Wimbledon just happened, and
ESPN,
that's it.
ESPN literally will text me, breaking news, Wimbledon's going on, and I'm like, that's not really breaking.
There's probably some golf, and that's about it. So yeah.
But it's unless in my baseball team stinks. I'm a White Sox fan.
My baseball team is doing okay.
Are much better, and I'm a Brewers fan too when it comes down to it. But it's just that weird, and we haven't had that moment because I feel like COVID threw off all the schedules, and now the schedules are back to normal in a sense, like for sporting wise, and it's just it's a gripe I have.
We're in a drought. I definitely watched. The other day, I definitely watched. It was Syria versus like Iran in basketball.
Was it a war or
no? It was a basketball game. Okay, it was a basketball game.
Yeah.
So
that's a hell of a game.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know who won, but I'm glad everyone made it out safe.
I'm glad they did too. Applause for that.
Yes.
We lost the applause button.
We never had it.
We never had it. Pedro had it, but we didn't.
We have a great guest on the show today.
We do.
He is a teacher by day, but then he is also the promoter and owner of Mondo Lucha, which is a wrestling and variety show based here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin as well. Jay Gilkay, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you
Hello.
for having me.
Welcome, Jay.
Appreciate it.
I've been excited to do this one because I'm a Mondo Lucha fan. I've grew up watching wrestling since I was a little kid, basically.
Yes. Same, too. Like, I love it.
I was there. I watched it a lot, fell out of it, and then came back to it right around the time that you guys were really kind of doing your thing.
Right.
But before I get too far into it, explain Mondo Lucha to us in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. It's always, it's basically, I've always said it, Andy Gorzalski, who's my business partner, we're co-owners with Mondo. This is kind of like our love letter to professional wrestling. Mm-hmm. And this is our 14th year going through it. And we always wanted to bring wrestling to the people in a quote unquote cool way, I guess. I mean, I not to sound derogatory, but like hipsters or cool people, whatever you want to say, this is something we've always loved.
Right.
And we didn't just love it. Two guys fighting in underwear or whatever, but like there's psychology, the behind the scenes, like it's a real crazy business to be involved with, for sure. Very seedy, not the great, like not the nicest people you're going to meet in your life.
Right.
But we've always loved wrestling, and we were just like, how can we do this? How could we bring this to Milwaukee in some capacity that we can show everybody the great stuff, the great things about wrestling, the things that make it fun, but then at the same time still appeal to that kind of cooler crowd, that that hip crowd going to concerts and that. And so we were aware that in California, Lucha Vavoom was going on, which was they were doing lucha Mexican wrestling matches with burlesque performers. Oh, and every now and then they would swing out of California. They'd maybe hit Chicago once every couple years or whatever, but it wasn't. It was very regional. Yeah. So we took that and said, okay, well, that's cool. Because there was, at that point in Milwaukee, there was kind of a burlesque scene was starting to form.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It's about 2008. And so we're like, well, you know what? It's starting to form here. We could start doing that. And then, bring that in. But let's make ours different. Let's add music. Let's add local music to it.
Yeah.
Love that.
And that became the big part of it. And then we started thinking of it not so much as a wrestling show or a burlesque show or a vaudeville show, as it's like Saturday Night Live almost, but the wrestling is the skits that go on, and then with the musical act and the burlesque, and then just trying to incorporate other parts into it. And it started off strong. We actually teamed up, pull the curtain back a little bit. We're like, well, how do we get our foothold in the city? How do we get people to take notice of us?
Yeah.
So we actually contacted the Brew City Bruisers.
Oh, the roller derby team here.
and said, hey, we're doing this. We'd love for you guys to be involved.
Okay.
Because if you're involved with this, like that's that crowd. That's the crowd we're going for. Just
right,
that
yeah.
kind of, that just, this is the group of people that we want the tattoos, we want the punks, we want the people that want to go to concerts, have fun, just have a blast.
Yeah.
And they were good. They weren't at first, they were great to work with once we started working with them, but there were definitely some people that were like, we don't know, because we're doing a real sport. And I agree, you're actually playing a real sport.
Yeah.
But if you've got people out doing roller derby and they've all got fake names,
it's basically
then it's
basically wrestling.
Not that
and
far
I didn't
from it.
and I didn't mean to be, and I didn't want, and here's the other thing too. I was raised on roller derby, the LA Thunderbirds and Georgia Haas, and like all like, and the roller derby that I knew was just that crazy. It was all scripted as well, pretty much back in the day. And we found it interesting that a lot of the roller derby girls, the current era, had no idea about that stuff.
Right.
So there was like having, not to defend our stance, but to kind of be like, hey, look, we respect roller derby. We respect what you're doing. We think what you're doing is awesome, but you're not that far off from what we're doing or what we want to do. And then, and our big promise is like, we'll never make you look bad.
Yeah.
Like if anything, you're going to make us look bad. Like you'll beat up our guys.
Yeah.
That's just, and so they agreed and they were very gracious. And we brought some of them in to train. Awesome. And that we would take a full-size television. 2008, right? Flat screens and things like that aren't around.
Yeah, like a
giant television with a VHS tape or a burned DVD to the roller derby bouts of just pictures of luchadors and burlesque performers.
Okay, and that was your ad.
And they let us stand inside the building, and people, while they were standing in line to get in, would see this video.
Yeah.
And then we're like, we're selling the tickets. And that's how we initially.
That's how you got started.
That's how it got started.
For those who are younger than like 25, that sounds like ancient history.
Crazy,
like,
right?
Like would you
burned
did what?
DVD.
Yeah,
right.
That's amazing.
So anyhow, I'm sorry to make that long, but that
great.
was like it. That was like how we began. Like that was, and then also just having a bit of like just being stupid, brave. Like if you think about something too much, you won't do it.
Yeah.
To book Turner Hall.
Right,
just to be like
700 person venue from the jump.
We'll just book this and let's see what happens.
How far into this did it like when did you book Turner Hall versus when you started?
Well, we booked it for like that was the first thing I did because I used to be in a band, so I knew all about like just making sure having the venue first is the major thing.
Yeah.
So it was like lock down the venue first and then going online and seeing all these great pictures of Turner Hall that they had and then taking those to the wrestlers and being like, this is what we're going to try to do.
Right.
Now all the wrestlers locally are used to working in like bowling
Bingo
alleys
halls.
and bingo halls and like small, I mean, even no offense, bingo hall is being gracious.
Like Knights of Columbus.
Like Knights of Columbus. Like,
event
yeah,
halls.
like you
Legion
can
Hall or
jump up
something.
and touch the ceiling type things, right?
Yeah.
And I'm showing them a 2-story balcony, giant stage, lighting rig. Like, well, this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
And all the wrestlers are like, yeah, sure, we'll see about that.
Right.
So that was kind of wild.
Yeah, that's an amazing backstory as to how it started. When did you start watching wrestling?
I mean, I remember it as like, as early as possible. Sunday mornings was AWA, All-Star Wrestling.
yeah.
And my
Sure.
dad would watch it like with me.
Yep.
So I was raised on that. Never really saw live events though. My dad never took me to live events,
Okay.
which I don't know why,
Yeah.
but it was always there. You know, it was always, and then it's like you go through your life. I mean, I remember being 9, 10 years old, 11 years old, and there was a match on TV, Sergeant Slaughter versus the Iron Sheik, and it was on Monday night, like whatever the wrestling show was on WWF on Monday night.
Okay.
And my friend that lived 3 houses down wanted me to sleep over. But at that point, I was embarrassed that I was watching wrestling. It was kind of, kept it a little bit. So I knew that match was coming on. And while I was hanging out with my friend at his house, said, I have to run home. I'll be back in like 20 minutes.
Okay.
And then watch them. And I was watching the match and waiting for it to come on. And then my friend's knocking at the door like, hey, are you coming? What's going on? And I'm trying like, so there was like almost a little bit of shame.
Right.
In
That came with it.
Yeah, that came with it. So like, then you discover skateboarding and girls.
Yep.
And and doing whatever you do, and you're still, it becomes you watch it, but it's fun, like it's almost funny, it's ironic that oh look, what's going on,
Right.
but you're like, it just happens to be on. Oh yeah, look at that Ultimate Warrior, ha ha ha, whatever. Yeah. But at the same time, you're still like, I still like this.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I feel like you're hitting my exact life story. You're telling it.
Yeah, no, but this is. I mean, I really feel like this is the. And then what happens is, and maybe we'll deviate here, but like then it goes away because you're in your like late teens, early 20s. You're going out, whatever.
Yep.
And then you discover ECW.
Right.
Oh my God, you are literally telling my life story.
Because then it's cool, and they're playing White Zombie as the intro music, and guys are going through tables and blood and fire, and then now you're having friends come over to your house because you're ordering tapes offline.
Yep.
Check this out. They're like, well, this is wrestling. I'm like, yeah, but this guy's about to get hit in the head with a chair so hard the chair is going to bend in half.
Yeah.
And then, or like, they just stacked up 3 tables, lit them on fire, and a guy jumped onto the balcony, and they're just like, I don't know. So then ECW becomes part of your life, and then you're into that. And then that's when the wrestling boom of the Steve Austin and the Attitude Era.
That was like when I was like my apex when I was 12.
Right. Yeah. And then that became cool. And then that's when it was. And then at that point it was cool.
Yeah.
Like and that was.
It's funny you mentioned not going to live events. My dad took me to one live event because we were begging him, to go. I want to see WWF. He took us to WCW. Yeah. And it was at United Center in Chicago. And I made a sign. This is like the dumbest sign ever. I was 12. Keep that in mind. But it was Steve Nash and Macho Man, and I said Nash can smash Macho Man, and that was a sign I held up.
They ran it on TV, of course.
And I got on a jumbotron, and it was like the
That's pretty
highlight of my
amazing.
life. But it was my dad, my brother, we won, and it was like they had a dance competition. It was so bizarre. I wanted to go to WWF, but my dad took me to WCW. But that was like. I'm like Monday nights, like the Apex.
It was Raw.
Right. Oh my gosh, that was so fun.
Yeah.
You hear Stone Cold's glass breaking, The Rock comes out, Mick Foley. I mean, Degeneration X.
That whole era.
That was awesome.
And everybody was watching.
Oh, and the next day in school, between Pokemon cards, that was what we were talking about.
There you go.
You know, and one of those has come back, but
But you really don't. But I mean, you watch or like I can remember. I mean, people just walking around like. The Suck It or the Austin 316 and like it was everywhere. You couldn't go to anything without seeing that.
It was literally ingrained.
It overtook the whole world,
and it felt good. Like it kind of felt good because like cool. Now I'm not like hiding. Like I'm not hiding in the shadows.
That would be vindicating for you to not have the hidden part anymore.
I think so. And I think for a lot of wrestling fans. But then it's like, and not to here's the old wrestling man in me. I'll kind of dump on the new stuff. Like now with the new stuff, I enjoy it. The thing that's ruining it for me for the new wrestling is the fans because there's a level of I always call them like they all seem like the comic book guy from The Simpsons. Like they know everything, and it's like you can't even be like, hey, I like wrestling because then they want to like one up you with like some fact.
They want to know
the
blood type of the
right
or something.
Right. Yeah. And then that also gets difficult for me because being a promoter and actually working in the business and knowing a bunch and like I have friends on TV now. Every week. And I have people want to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Give me a break.
Yeah, a lot of the wrestlers from Mondo Lucha have gone on to AEW and some WWE, I think, as well.
And we brought some back from that
Is
too,
it mostly local wrestlers or are you pulling in people from everywhere?
I pull in from everywhere. Andy and I do a good job of kind of seeing what's going on nationally out there. And we've had some international wrestlers come in too from Mexico and that as well. But for the most part, it's if you want to see local wrestling, to me, I'm always like you can just go to a local show and that's your favorite.
Totally.
And we do a little bit of hand picking the ones that we think can really benefit or can benefit us to use them, and they also know what's going on.
Right.
So there's a lot of good local wrestlers. There really are. Do we have spots for everybody also becomes the issue.
Yeah, because you guys only do one main show a year.
Yes.
And it's at Turner Hall. You guys also do some kind of one-offs here and there.
We'll do Weird Fest, which is with Mobcraft Brewery.
Okay.
And they've been cool because they did Mondo Lucha beer for 2 years in a row.
Sweet.
So that was super awesome.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And so, we'll do Weird Fest. And then we've been tied into Taco Fest, which is I think Milwaukee Magazine or On Milwaukee or somebody bought them
I think
now.
On Milwaukee.
Is On Milwaukee? Yeah. So On Milwaukee bought them, and we've been doing that, though, for the last, 5 or 6 years, which is kind of derivative. That's the thing that, if I can point this out, too, is that, and this ties in, I guess, with everything, is that the name is Mondo Lucha.
Right.
but we're not Mexican wrestling, and we're not claiming to be Mexican wrestling.
Right.
And
It's
if you
more
look
of
at
the
the
variety
it's
show
the
thing.
variety show, and it's like rather than just saying like, "Hey, fun wrestling," how do you give it a name that has something that catches?
Yeah.
And I think about there were a lot of movies made back in the 1970s and 60s, like Mondo Topless, Mondo Bizarro, where they were like exploitation movies, like going into the. I mean, and then there's some like crazy ones like Shocking Asia, and that where it's like stuff where it's like to taboo subjects that us Westerners weren't supposed to know. So we took Mondo in that sense, like kind of like this, because it also means world, but like just kind of like. It's just that it has that connotation that goes with it. Like, ooh, this is like this weird exploitation. And then rather than say wrestling, turn it into lucha.
Yeah.
And it worked and it fit. And at first, we didn't mind being pigeonholed as like Mexican wrestling, but we're not. And we're not trying to appropriate it. We're just trying to create our own thing. And this is just what happens, what the name happens to be now.
Very cool. Now, I think everyone that has watched wrestling for a certain amount of time goes, man, I wish I could buy a ring. Or, man, I wish I could get in there and run the ropes or whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Except for my sons, who don't care.
Really?
I've said this for the longest time. If you told me when I was their age, well, now they're in their late teens, but if you would have told me when they were kids, or like if I was 10 years old and your dad was like, you want to come jump in the ring before the wrestlers get in it? That'd be like someone right now saying like, do you want to go to the moon? Like, yes, in a heartbeat.
Do you want money?
Right. And my 2 sons couldn't care less.
It's really funny.
But how did you get to the point where you made the jump and you were like, I really do want to buy the ring or rent the ring or whatever. Yeah. I do want to, like really go full speed ahead. Yeah.
I think, and I hope this is gonna come off kind of junky. And I apologize to the promoter because I won't refer him to by name, but like we went to a wrestling show for my friend's birthday.
Okay.
And while watching it, realizing, wow, this is terrible production.
Okay.
This is horrible. Like nothing made sense. Mm-hmm. Why is there a real skinny guy with a cowboy hat and a leather vest that looks like he's 21 years old? Why is he managing a 300-pound guy in a Russian outfit?
Okay, so everybody had their own character, but nothing was
cohesive.
Yeah, that doesn't add up. Like,
nothing made sense.
You can't even like detach that from.
It's right, and it's just like, it's all. And then it's just like, oh, you're all just doing this. Yeah, you're all just, and and the guys that were in the ring working were great. Yeah, they were really, really good.
Yeah. I actually love that though, that you see something and you're like, I could do this better.
Then that was kind of it.
I think that's great.
Why can't we could do this and we could do this so much better?
Yeah,
and it's like, and so like things that really disappoint us. And with you in music, right? Mm-hmm. Like thinking about like if you went and saw Rage Against the Machine, they're not out at the merch stand selling their merch, are they? No.
Right.
So our concept is like we can do this, give them a real like quote unquote professional setting. Mm-hmm. Totally. You stay backstage. You don't go out and fraternize with the crowd. Yeah. You're like you are part of the show. The problem in the mindset of a lot of the local independent wrestlers is they want to have their match and then they want to go walk in the crowd and talk to their friends and say, did I do okay? Yeah, right. Did I do all right? How was I okay?
Yeah, or get their name out there somehow and be like, I'm this guy.
Because that level of promotion for them has to feel like they need to be like face to face. But it is. It's
and so we want to be like, look, you're part of the show.
Yeah, that's
and like
important.
we're like, wow, because like then the mystique is gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's the whole like I couldn't think of the word, but like that really is. Like the detachment again, where you're like, this is really a thing.
Or
you get into
look at outfits. Yeah. A guy comes to like we only allow we actually have a rule. There's 2 guys that work for us. That those are the only guys we allow to wear T-shirts in the ring when they wrestle because they're great wrestlers and they're awesome dudes.
Yeah, and
it works for their character. Mm-hmm. Other than that, everybody else is going to be wearing tights, boots, clown outfit for some guy. A monkey outfit, whatever it is. Yeah. They're going to be wearing outfits because to me, when I go and watch wrestling, I want to see things that I can say, I would never do that. Right. I would never just wear a little Speedo with some boots.
You don't want to look like, have people that look like they're just guys off the street.
Just guys, right, exactly. Guys wearing like the Asics wrestling shoes with kick pads and then like long basketball shorts. Like, I could do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that. I want to see people that like they're fully committed to their outfits and their and their gear, and that they look good. And so Andy and I have always said like we want to make this as professional as possible. So yeah, Andy and I are at this wrestling show with our friend, and we're just like, this is sad. The Honky Tonk Man was there. Okay.
So,
and they
wrestling
say,
legend, but he was probably there doing an appearance.
Yes, and you could be his manager for his match that night. But it was like, hey, top bid becomes Honky's manager for the night.
Okay.
And so me and the 3 other guys I'm with are pooling our money together because we're like, for Ryan's birthday, we're going to
make him the manager.
And it's like, and because the birthday we knew we were going out, I'm like, okay, so I've got $75. What do you got? I got 75. Okay, what do you got? Oh, and we're like, okay, we've got $300. Luckily, it won't go higher than that.
Yeah.
What do you think it went for?
I'm gonna say like 125.
$50.
Oh my goodness! So nobody wanted to even shell the money out.
No, but I don't know what it was, but we didn't even. We felt so sad.
Yeah.
That we were like, we're not even gonna bid.
Even go.
It's not even worth. Like, really, that's it.
Yeah.
Because even like then we're sitting there thinking the joke would have been standing up and going like $300.
Right.
It's like a movie. Yeah.
Right. But then we're like, well, if he only. And he's gonna do it for that. So that, you know what I mean. So like that's the stuff where I'm like, wow, this seems kind of low rent.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I like how that sparks a level of frustration about something you're passionate about.
Right.
Because I feel like if I as a speaker, if I saw like someone who's just a crap speaker, I'd be like, I could do it so much better. And then like that's what gets you into doing it. Like it almost like you needed that moment to actually be like, this is what I can do, and I know I can do it better than that. Right. And it's important.
And we knew we could. I mean, because Andy's brilliant. He's such a smart guy, and like when you look at like all of our promotional stuff, Andy's the one that does all the promotion. And it's like it's great. Like I mean, I couldn't ask for a better partner on this, and he has a great eye. Again, being just kind of doing bands and doing things and just being a performer in general, it was like, yeah, we can do so much better. It's easy. Renting the ring, that's the easy part. Then that becomes the easy part.
Yeah.
It's everything else that's the hard part, and so that's we just kind of took it and ran with it at that moment. And that's why for a long time, and I mean, I still think there are people that dislike us in Milwaukee, but they dislike us out of jealousy. And I'm not trying to sound pompous, but like, listen,
that's understandable. Yeah, totally. I'm the same way with concerts where I have seen events and things that have been put on with way more dollars behind it that have been awful.
Right.
And I'm like, I know that I can do this better.
Right.
And so, I mean, I have done stuff where I've been like, okay, well, if they're going to do their thing, I'm going to make sure my thing blows that out of the way.
Absolutely.
And you do get driven by that.
Well, it's funny because like there's a level of healthy pettiness to that.
Yeah.
you're like, you know what?
Right.
I could do it. And I have that a lot where I'm like, I think I could pull this off. And then you put more of your determination into it and you actually live it out, which is important.
Well, and it's funny too, because we had one of the promoters actually reach out to Turner Hall to tell them that they shouldn't work with us.
Oh.
Because this promoter who met me once was like, this guy's really shady. He's got a very shady background.
What? Yeah.
But what he didn't realize, he was talking to Mark Solheim, who I've been friends with for 25 years.
Yeah. So you clearly knew your character, knew who you were.
Right.
Yeah.
But so to think that's how petty it was, like trying to get.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Or like here's another interesting situation, and is we were doing Mexican Fiesta for a number of years, and the picture, like crazy crowds. It was huge.
Yeah.
It was insane. It was an absolute blast. Without going into numbers, a local wrestling promoter came in and told them they could do the exact same show for 25% of the cost that we were charging.
Okay. Sure.
Right.
That's not even like I mean.
And then they didn't win that out.
But Mexican Fiesta comes to us and says, well, they say they can do it for this much. And I said, well, if I told you, if you were getting Ricky Martin and I told you I could get Ricky Martin for 25% of that cost, would you believe me?
Right. Yeah, honestly.
Like, it doesn't
wouldn't
even
be
make
the same.
And it's so it's such a big discrepancy. They were so bad that they didn't even know how much we were making.
Yeah.
That when they came in with their lowball offer, it was so low, it was laughable.
Well, that's the thing. There's a level of validity to that, and like that passes. Like, oh, come on, guys.
Right.
And
that's what I'm saying. Like, but they would have done anything to ruin that and get that.
And again, the production factor that comes in of saying, like, you're going to put on a show that people are going to remember.
Right.
It's going to be a quality show. It's not
Right.
going to be guys in t-shirts just glorified backyard stuff.
Right.
How long does an evening last for? Like when you guys do this?
Like just a regular, like the main show. Well, if we're good, 2.5 hours.
Okay.
If we go long, it's gone like 3.5. Sometimes,
Okay.
which is the worst. We hate that.
Yeah.
We want the doors open, or we want the doors at 7, show at 8, and then we want to be done by between 10:30 and 11 at the latest.
Yeah. Okay.
That's our
Kind of like just catch attention spans kind of thing.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, but you've been there, so you know it's like it's constantly it
turns over.
It turns over so fast, and when we like, and I always tell the musicians that this is always the heartbreaking thing with musicians is I say, you guys kind of are like the bathroom break.
Yeah.
Not trying to be rude.
It's true. Though.
But you guys are the bathroom break.
Because they're not in the ring. And they're off to the stage.
Right.
And so, yeah, they get like a song. But in that song, you see people go to the bar and whatever.
Right. But
and some people are into it.
But they open the show, so they get the great pop of the open of the show. Like that's, and then they get in the middle, they do their one other song, and then they close the show with 2 songs.
Yeah.
And they get, and then that's a spectacle because then everyone's dancing around them, and it's just
yeah,
like
and you guys bring
like,
everybody to the ring for the end of it, so it's a party at that point.
Exactly, and so we've never had a band complain, or be like, well, I didn't like, no one was paying attention. They are paying attention,
yeah,
but it is the time when it's just like it's that you have to have those decompression moments.
You're just like enjoying it rather than like very focused on it.
Yeah, and I think you do a great job of getting people that get it, getting bands that understand what they're what they're in there for.
Yeah,
and bands that kind of are a little quirky themselves.
Absolutely,
that they're like, this fits our brand too.
We had this is funny. We did have one performer many years ago that they came out for the big ending. Yeah, and it's supposed to be always the triumphant. We told them like, play the your most rah song. Yeah, and they played like a slow song, and we're like, this is our new single, and it was It was like
slow, sad,
and you're like, this is lame.
Your hero, baby.
Right. Yeah. It was very off. And Andy has the greatest thing he once told me. He's like, if you have on a sparkly hat, why put another sparkly hat on top of it?
Oh, that's very true.
You know what I mean? Like, how many hats are you going to wear?
Yeah.
How much can you make something
fun
or weirder?
Yeah.
And I'm always, and I take the wrestling seriously in the sense that, there's comedy and there's stuff in it, but I take it seriously in the sense that there are rules, like, unless you're a burlesque performer or unless you're involved with wrestling, like, you shouldn't be in our wrestling ring. I play that up all the time. So, like, when somebody comes in the ring that's not a wrestler, they will usually get beat up in some capacity because you're on sacred ground and sacred territory.
That's important. Yeah.
And so we have a lot of rules like that. And with the bands, the big rules, it's like, don't dress quirky, don't be goofy, bring your best, most energetic, fun stuff.
Yeah.
And just be yourselves, but don't try to add something to it because it's not needed.
Yeah.
We've got it. We've got the quirky and the crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
We've got it covered.
Yeah.
Just come and rock your songs as best you can.
Yeah, that's good. It reminds me, I do an event for Marquette every year for like homecoming, and we have it like at a bar, and we just want to play music, and we're always asked if we want like a DJ, and I'm like, we don't need a hype man. Like, this is like a fun. We don't need a guy like, all right, everybody, like, let's go.
Those
like,
people
just
are excited
music,
enough
make
as
announcements.
is.
And it's always like a funny thing because the bar we go to is like a party bar. It's downtown, and like that's what they're used to. But I always have to make the distinction of like, tell me who you're going to bring because I don't need the guy shouting the whole time. We're enjoying ourselves.
Just yelling at everybody.
Like to just let that go and be yourself, right? But don't bring this extra level that we don't need.
It's like curating a party.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And telling them to like put your best foot forward. If you're not going to wear a purple boa next time you go play at wherever, then just be yourself, and you'll get over huge with our crowd just being yourself.
Yeah.
So
we briefly touched on this a little bit, but having wrestlers that are now, going on to that next level and going and doing TV and winning titles, Thunder Rosa is the AEW Women's Champion. She was
awesome.
I saw her for the first time at Mondo Lucha.
Yeah.
How did you initially go about getting like these indie acts that are, making waves when you might have had not a lot to go off of, to say like, hey, we're this new thing.
Well, we do
one show a year.
Right. You walk. You literally, that's the pounding the pavement, going to shows in Chicago, going to see wrestling in Chicago, going to Green Bay, going to the indie shows in Milwaukee. And I can understand some people would be upset if we showed up at an indie show and we didn't take everybody, or like every show. Like, I get it. Or like, and promoters would get wind that we were there, and we're not stealing anybody. None of that.
Right.
It's just everyone's independent contractors. They work for whatever. But slowly but surely, you just start hearing names, meeting people, and a lot of times, I mean, there's a couple of them where it's like by hook or by crook, it just works out.
Right.
And you're like, whoa, this is
somebody that ends up going on to do something big. And you could say,
what would you consider like the most important piece of what you're looking for in a wrestler? Is it a culture fit? Is it a personality thing? Is it the show they put on?
It's the like package of the person.
Yeah.
And and it's kind of like think about doing fantasy football or fantasy basketball or whatever you would do. Like, who are those pieces that you need to fill those spots, right?
Yeah.
So if I have one guy that comes out like a demented clown, I probably don't need two. But would they work together as a great tag team? Possibly. Let's think about that. You know what I mean? Or I have they call them body guys, like the guys that are all just jacked, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, we got a body guy in this match, and he's just like a big, strong guy. But we also have a body guy that can do flips and do all the high spots.
Yeah.
So that works out. How do you, like, what do we need? Where does it work? And how do those pieces kind of connect?
Does anyone have to change anything about them, like their act when you get them?
So if we come up with a character,
like
there are
or
some.
Like if you ask them to evolve a little bit, or
we will. Well, we will, because I just don't want to. Like, here's like the laziness of it. Like, I don't want to deal with getting anybody's music, so I'm just like, we'll get music. I'll play whatever. Like, a great example is like John Morrison, working for WWE, came in for us, and he was our champion. And he's like, "Do you want my music?" I'm like, "No, we've got stuff aside that I think will work for you." And he's like, kind of like, "Really?"
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, "Just trust me. Like, you're not coming out to a waltz,
right?
Like, you're gonna come out to something good." And so, and we went. One of our production staff, Eric Arsenault, who's this local, just amazing dude. He helps us so much with editing music and things for the show and the video packages. So, I'm like, I love that opening riff in the song Unsung by Helmet. The da-na-na, da-na-na, and I'm like, can you just like put that on a loop?
Right.
And then drop in like part of the verse and then and he's like, oh yeah. And he does it in like 3 seconds because he's amazing.
And he just,
John, I see John come out to like, I'm announcing him, and the music starts playing, and he walks out on stage and he just stands there for a second. And he just like
all right,
kind of bobs because he knows. And then we get backstage after the match, and he's like, that was really good music.
Yeah, that worked for him.
He was like, that was great. I'm like, right, yeah, like that's like we have our vision on how we want, like how we want it.
And then he goes into the waltz after that.
Right, and then it's a
wouldn't
very
that be an amazing prank?
It would be,
just, like,
yes.
Put on something like polka music
no, for sure, exactly. Just something like super weird, but like,
cool.
So we will create our characters if we have something. If we have guys, we've tried stuff. If stuff like sometimes stuff works, sometimes it doesn't. But most guys now, I'm at the point where it's like most people that we try to get are so established, it's hard for you to actually. You don't want to change them.
They come with what they have,
Or there's amazing gimmicks like Space Monkey. He comes out and he's got the astronaut helmet and he looks like a monkey. It's great. And he's from Canada and he's been around the indie scene for quite a few years.
Okay.
But what's cool is, and I always laugh with him about this, because people locally who don't know him think that that's something we've created.
I was going to say, I totally thought that was a Mondo Lucha original.
No.
That was really
and I shouldn't have said it, but seriously, but he's a great dude. And like, those are kind of those are the benefits sometimes of some of the things that happen where we're able to go like, oh, cool. Like, like someone said to us, like, can you believe your Serpentico character made it to AEW? Like, it was not our character.
Yeah.
Was not our character, just a cool dude that we've worked with a bunch of times. Like,
right.
And it's like, but we're lucky enough to kind of hear who's doing what, where, and get guys. I mean, that show that you're talking about, that Thunder Rosa was on, that was the last show before COVID. Thunder Rosa, Melanie Cruz, Shotzi Blackheart, John Morrison, Serpentico, Darius Martin, all signed.
Yeah, all landed in AEW and WWE.
Right, yeah, all like, so that's what I mean. So it's like, it's cool, but it's crazy. And then when you have people that mildly follow wrestling actually turn on TV and see one of the people that you work with on there.
Yeah.
That really
cool.
like it's like it's kind of
It's gotta be
indicating
really
it's cool.
gratifying
Yeah,
for
very
you.
gratifying
Yeah,
to be like,
that's
yes,
awesome.
like
Yeah.
this is working.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
it's like it's like
validation. You
yeah.
created something that people like, and now they're taking their career to the next level.
Totally.
That's really
yeah.
awesome.
So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Are you finding turnover? Like how often does that happen? People get signed.
boy, that's
and they go?
yeah. I mean, right now it's a little bit tricky because so many people are signed.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's become the problem, and then so many people get signed. So what happened is a bunch of people got released, and now those people all think they're worth a lot of money
Yeah, because they
because
just
they just
left
got
the big
released,
time.
and then a bunch of other people just got signed. So now the ones that can work, like people you can work with from AEW, NWA, Impact, like those we can get those guys. But because they're on TV, then their prices, like everybody's prices, kind of
I could see
Go
that.
up
Go
because
up.
of that. Yeah.
yeah.
So part of what we talk about on the show is balancing like the side hustle with the regular
Yes.
business. So being a teacher as well.
Yeah.
When do you start writing the show for the fall for Mondo Lucha? Because it's every fall.
Yeah,
So,
January we start going into it. Like we
Okay.
really, that's when we really do our thing. As
Sure.
far as just because then you have to make sure venue's booked, talent's booked, because talent does get booked out kind
Yeah.
of far ways
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
One of the last things we ever book is music. Because
Yeah.
usually bands are pretty flexible
Flexible,
on
sure.
that. And then we also kind of get bands are kind of here and gone a lot of the times too, in the sense of locally, like who's even doing something or who's where.
Yeah.
So we usually try to wait till about this time to start looking for bands.
Are you
Okay.
finding like a good balance between doing lesson plans and then going into doing this planning? Like
Yeah.
does that work or like
Yeah,
are there nights
well,
committed to one or the other?
So I was an electrician by trade for
Okay.
a long time, and then when the recession hit in sometime in 2000,
2008.
yeah, 2008ish, I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
and there's a lot of back-breaking work, I always felt.
Yeah.
But I loved going and helping at my son's school. And I was a horrible student. I'll just say that right away. Like I was
I love when
terrible.
that happens. It's like
Yeah.
my
I
favorite
was
story.
horrible, but I was horrible, I think, because I didn't get pushed by my parents.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't hold that against them. It was the 1980s, latchkey kids.
Yeah,
It's like
you-
it is what it is.
as long as you came home at night, you were good.
It was
set.
great. And right.
Yeah.
And I have no like animosity or there's no bitterness about that. It's just like if my parents let me go out and skateboard with my friends, I was skateboarding with my friends.
Yeah.
It is what it
way it
is.
went down.
It's what
Yeah.
grades. Who cares, right?
Right.
So, but realizing I enjoyed watching my sons at school, and also realizing that I enjoyed that my sons, or I enjoyed helping them push them in the right path towards like, hey, this is why learning is important. I really
Yeah.
appreciated that. And then a big thing that took over in my life was I didn't want to make anybody else money.
Yeah.
And when you're working in the trades, which is it's all great professions and awesome stuff, but I'm just the kind of guy where like when I'm working for a company and I know they're billing me at $95 an hour and I'm only getting $25 an hour,
Right.
I'm like,
Immediately,
you
you're
can't
like,
kick me up to 30. Like
Yeah.
you're making six. I get
It's
it.
difficult to comprehend that though. I mean that's
And it's so, and so I started thinking about that, and that was difficult for me. Like, kind of like, well, I enjoy being with my sons, or I enjoy teaching, or I like performing. Teaching is performing,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's stand up. To me, it's stand up comedy for 8 hours a day,
yeah.
because it's like
couple algebra problems.
I'm hooking the kids in with stuff, like
You
trying
have
to make
to.
it fun and
Yeah.
make it enjoyable and all that. But at the end of the day, it's like I do love teaching the kids. I love making those connections. But I also am glad that like I'm literally like no one's making money off of the work that I'm doing, in the
Right.
sense of like I'm not like swinging a hammer or lifting 50-pound bags of cement.
Yeah, they're
And
not profiting
right.
off
They're not
of-
profiting off of something that I've done, and so like I can sleep good at night knowing that
Yeah.
like that's my piece for work.
For sure.
So-
That's cool.
What is harder to talk to, a locker room full of wrestlers or a classroom full of kids?
Wrestlers are it's like wrestlers can be tough, and I don't mean tough like they're not even tough guys. A lot of them are very emotional.
They take it
They take
to heart.
they
kind
take
of
it to heart. They're also, but they're but again, there's so
ego
much
at
fun.
all in any of them? Like
That's the funny one, where there is ego, but there's ego that they try to hide.
okay.
Well, I'm not sure I understand why we should be doing this. I'm like, just do it.
Yeah.
Like, this is just like, trust me.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this is, so there's a lot of that. Students, you know, I don't have any problem with students because even though I'm 48, I feel like I'm 12. So sometimes I feel like that's the sham. Like I feel like I'm in there just as screwball as they are. And I was teaching 5th grade and I'm going to be teaching 4th. There's also that level of like, they're 10 and 11 years old. They're not smarter than me.
Right.
So even like, let's say I get a fact wrong on something. I don't, whatever. Like this year, I was off by 2 days on talking about when Hands Across America happened.
Okay.
These kids aren't fact checking me.
Yeah.
I could just say it happened today. It was like our writing prompt, and I forgot to change the date on the writing prompt.
Yeah.
And it was like so it's those leeway type situations.
Sure.
And then so I think that's always like a big one where you can just kind of be like, I mean, and I've never like fully BS'd something, but but there are some stuff where they'll be like, how do you think? They'll be like, why did they do this, Mr. Gilkay? And I'll be like, probably because of this, you know,
likely because of you can always kind of.
Yeah. I like your idea too of like you're you still have like that 12-year-old, and I mean when I'm speaking, like I'm still that goofy 16-year-old kid I was, and like that's who I'm speaking to,
right?
And I can be that on stage, and so there's always been like a natural fit, and like they don't feel like I'm talking down to them, or I'm sure you just have like a good connection in that sense because you don't take yourself that seriously,
right? Absolutely,
it's way more fun that way.
And I do a lot like. I do the stuff that, like, if I'm asking for somebody to answer a question and, and again, and we're really rocking and rolling the class and answers are coming fast and furious and things are going great. And then I'll ask somebody a question and they'll get it wrong. Like, I'll like pretend I get, stabbed with like someone shot me with an arrow and I'll like fall on the floor. And then everyone laughs. And then I just lay down there and I'll teach like 2 minutes of the lesson down there like,
awesome.
You gotta bring me back to life. No, I'm like, you gotta bring me back to life now. Answer this next, and it's like, so I just make it like, and I always think like, how many of these kids have teachers that are doing that, making that connection, making it fun or trying to do that,
right?
Or just trying to do things to like liven up their day a little bit.
That's awesome.
But also walking that fine line that I'm not doing something so ridiculous that they're going to go home and be like, Mr. Gilkay,
fell over today.
Mr. Gilkay jumped over a desk and kicked a kid in the face. That never happened, but I'm just saying. But like,
move, though.
Right, that's exactly. This is my finisher. But it is very much like, but you want to make it as well. Like, and perfect example of that is last year I said, I had a very sensitive girl in my class. She was very sensitive to everybody else's emotions and feelings. What awesome! I'm glad. But then I get a call from the mom, and the mom's like, hey,
this is happening.
She said that you told a kid you were going to throw him out the window today if he didn't answer the question right. And I'm like, yeah, I said that. But if you really think I was like in their face with like, if you don't answer this question right, I'm throwing it. I was literally like, all right, this is the big moment. If you get this right, like you're going to save the class.
The delivery is
but if you don't, I might have to throw you out the window. Yeah. Like it's just that, but she's like, well, I thought that the mom's like, well, my daughter thought that boy took it serious. And I'm like, so like, this is so there's stuff like that you have to kind of circumvent and like kind of be like, all right,
sure.
And when you meet the parents and you express that to them, like, hey, I joke around, I have fun with the students.
That usually helps, I'm sure.
And they when they meet me, they're like, "Oh, I get it. I get it.
Right.
I get what where you're going after."
For sure.
So it's fun.
Do any of the kids know about the side hustle at all?
So
the side business.
Interestingly enough, they don't at the start of the year.
Okay.
But then when they get their school issued Chromebooks and everybody wants to start Googling my name.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they find out. Yeah.
And then they're like, what's this?
Yeah.
Why is I mean, there's a video of me on YouTube singing Hello Milwaukee, like the old Channel 12 song.
Yep.
So like, they're like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, can we stop? Please just stop.
Yeah.
I get, and I have to talk to them. The other one that's really funny though is like the one that pops up more than the wrestling thing is Andy, who works with the Bucks sometimes on promotional things, back in, I'm trying to think, I mean, it was many years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, not even that far back. He recorded a version of Light It Up, and I was the guy that rapped on it. Oh, nice. So On Milwaukee did an article that called me local rapper. I'm not even.
So you did the rap in the
one of the versions
guys?
that's out there. One of the versions that's out there. But if you Google search J Gilkay Milwaukee Bucks, the article comes up.
Sure.
Fantastic.
And it says big time Bucks fan and local rapper. Right. And so my kids see that and are like, what? Like, so I'm like,
Jay Mathers.
Right. I was like, I'm a local rapper. What can I say? So like that, I think, is more like interesting to them.
Yeah.
But like, wrestling's in a weird spot right now. I think wrestling is appealing to people in their upper teens through 20s and 30s.
Yep.
And that's, and when I say that, I mean, more like the AEWs and the other, like the more,
more internet savvy.
More internet savvy wrestlers.
Yeah, totally.
WWE is going to get your young kids.
Yep.
And so, because the WWE's production is so amazing and ridiculous, anything that I showed them from ours in our production, they're just kind of like, okay, circus man. But you know what I mean? So it's not.
They're just kind of.
And it's, do you know John Cena? And it's like, no, I don't know John Cena. And if I, as long, I can't see him.
Yeah.
No, but it's like, and I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I'm totally fine with that. Mm-hmm. Things that help us out or help me out, because wrestling is a seedy business. Wrestling is built
out of the Carney
system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's a lot of crazy stuff that you hear about happening behind the scenes. People aren't always on the up and up. It can get shady and all that stuff. Yeah. And so we have tried to do things like Taco Fest, or we did wrestling in the Milwaukee Public Library.
Oh, very cool.
So that we worked with Milwaukee Public Library, and they closed down their Mitchell Street branch for a night, or it was open.
Yeah.
So like people could check out books, and we had a wrestling ring in there and had like 5 wrestling matches.
So cool.
And it was great. And it's like, and if online someone did an article somewhere in the United States, I don't know where they said like weirdest wrestling shows, and we were number 1 for being.
Absolutely.
Awesome. That's
so right. So like,
stuff like that.
But you know what? But if like my principal or administration or somebody were to ever question me, I would just push them like, hey, not only did we perform in the Milwaukee Public Library, they actually did like a presentation and took this to like the big public libraries of America conference.
Oh, that's awesome.
And did a presentation using this as an example of why it was cool.
Right.
And we got asked by other libraries to do it. So like, so while there is the level of, that kind of seediness or like grunginess or just like whatever it would be, trashiness. Yeah. We can try to transcend that by doing things that lift us above that.
For sure. Very cool.
So, yeah. And I've been trying to keep it, like I'm switching schools. That's another thing too. Like, so I'm going from a low socioeconomic school district, which I really like teaching at.
Yeah.
But now I'm headed to one that's actually in the suburbs.
Okay.
And I'm going to be, I told my wife, like, this year I'm going to be like Batman. I'm going to be long sleeve shirts, hiding my tattoos. Yeah. I'm going to be what'd you do this weekend? It's not going to be like, I was hanging out backstage at the WWE show at here. Right. Or like, I was doing this. It's just like, I had a nice weekend at home. Thank you very much.
Relaxing.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to just play it as straight as possible.
Okay.
And just for fun. Not like I'm not worried about anything, but I'm just going to try it for fun.
Yeah.
Because I'm always curious to see like when do they start catching on?
When do they start Googling?
Right. How many of those teachers in the new school have stalked me now and Googled me on Facebook or whatever?
How many have been to your show and been like, hey, that's the guy?
Wouldn't that be amazing? That happened to my sons though.
Really?
Yeah. Like my son once wore a shirt to school and the teacher was like, you're too young to go to that show. I was there last night or whatever. My son was like, I was there too. I was up in the balcony. Yeah, my dad does, so like
skybox.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Real quick on the way out, where do you see Mondo Lucha going from here? What do you want to keep going forward with it?
Every year we say it's the last year, just because every year we say it's the last year, and then there's a new milestone around the corner. Like next year will be 15 years.
Wow.
Right.
So, we're like, okay, well, this can't be the last year. We've got to do at least 15. Yeah. And then it's like, well, is 15 a dumb number to stop at? Do we stop at 20? Yeah. Should we go to 20?
Yeah.
If I had my druthers, I'm guessing 20 would probably be our stopping point.
Okay. Until you
talk to me 25. Until we hit 20.
30 sounds great too.
So. Right. Yeah. No, it also but it's like, but then you think about the portion of your life that's spent kind of going through and like the time it takes and I want my years to slow down a little bit. Sometimes it gets that, you know, the speed. So like I see us doing it definitely for a while longer.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's not even that it's hard anymore. It's turnkey at this point, but you just like when ideas start to falter, ideas slip, or what do you do? And then local bands, or how do you find what's like, sometimes the pieces just aren't there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't know, you know, and you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So
do you feel like do you still have the same passion for the work? And like
the passion wanes, and we do the show ends, and I don't want to think about it for like 3 or 4 months.
That's usually when you kind of feel like,
and then I feel good because I don't have anything on the plate at that point.
Yeah.
But I do like it.
Right. You always like it. Because you have to, like,
once you're there and you're into it, like we've got a show in 2 weeks for Weird Fest, and as much as I'm kind of like, gotta do a show, I'm also like, it'll be good to see the guys. And then once I see the guys, then we'll
when
see
you're
them
in
again.
it, you're back in it. Kind of sense. I get that.
And time. You just, like I say, you think about time. A lot of these guys now we've known for 15 years.
Yeah.
When they were in their early 20s.
Right.
And now they're getting up there in age. And you kind of start going like, wow, like,
you're going to need Son of young. Space Monkey.
Right. So
he's Wheelchair Monkey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there's like always just kind of things like that we think about and how to do it. And then how do you keep it fresh?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I think as long as there's always a turnover of a crowd.
Yeah.
That's a big part.
And funny thing with you, Alan, so you said like last year, and you're probably, to you is just a one-off thing, you said it, but I'll never forget it. It was like waking up that next morning after the show, and then just like all of a sudden you see something that says, oh, Mondo Lucha is a Milwaukee treasure. That was what you wrote.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the kind of stuff where I'm just like, oh yeah, like that's why I do this.
Well, it is something that definitely only happens in a number of places. It's here. Like you said, there's the Lucha Vavoom out west. But like the culture of what you've done is like, it's kind of like this in the know thing. Like if you don't know what it is, you're not going to know. Right. But if you go to it and you see it, you're immediately like I'm coming back every year.
Well, like I don't know anybody that's been disappointed. Like I don't know anyone that's ever walked out and been like, that was I had one guy that said it was too loud. But or I had a guy that complained there was too many people. But I'm like, like I don't know how
too popular.
It was you know, and I'm like, and I said I don't know how to how to help that situation.
Yeah, there's like a best kept secret element to it. I think that you have, which is very cool.
Which unfortunately though, can I say best kept like sometimes being a best kept secret sucks. Because I can't tell you how many times I've been wearing Mondo stuff and someone's like, hey, are you going this year? And I'm like, I'm the guy that talks. I'm the guy in the ring.
I'm the guy in the ring at the beginning of it.
You know?
I guess I'll see you there.
Yeah, right. So it's like there's like some of that. Or like I once I went and we were at something at the Riverside and I was wearing my Mondo sweatshirt and someone proceeded to tell me all about it. Oh. And you don't want to be the jerk to be like
that's literally me. Yeah.
That's like thank you. It's like it sounds exciting.
Yeah,
maybe I'll be you know, and I was like, yeah, did you get your tickets? Can you tell me what was like? Yeah, so there's a little bit of that, really which funny. Is like but you know what, but I'm not as long as they can be like that monkey was super funny or that you know the guy with the chain that came out or the big guy that's 500 pounds came out, whatever. Right. If they can grab something and run with it, then that's what makes me happy.
Totally, for sure.
And I've invited my teachers, just so you know, like I've had teachers in administration come to see the show. So
cool. That's good.
Which is cool.
We can support you and what
so that's cool. So it's like I don't keep it a total secret, but it is definitely. You just want to make sure that you're not like too like wide open with what's going on.
Right.
And then you get a janitor that wants to talk to you about wrestling all the time after that. And then it's like, and he thinks it's real sometimes.
I guess I gotta get to study hall.
Right. Which is kind of like, I got to get these things. But that is, and I'm sorry, one more thing I just want to say that I think is really kind of crazy. And this is why I think the spectacle works. And this is the whole thing. And this is why even in like personal life, tying it to school, where they don't understand it or they're kind of confused by it and so they don't push it, is because if you think about forms of entertainment out there, if we went and saw a movie together right now, we don't walk out of the theater and you don't say to me, well, you know that was fake, right? You know Thanos didn't really snap his fingers.
Right.
But I guarantee you, somebody leaving Turner Hall that night somebody that sees us at Weird Fest or Taco Fest leans over to their friend and says, well, you know it's all fake, right? So what that tells me, at some point, we did a good enough job suspending disbelief.
Yeah. They have to
that they have to justify with themselves.
They
have to rationalize, and they have to tell someone.
Yeah.
I know this is fake.
Yeah.
I know
so
it's
true.
fake. And so that's what makes this great, because the mystery of that, even though it's not so much anymore, but it's still there.
Yeah.
The mystery is there. And then the school element of it, other teachers. Wow, are those guys mean backstage?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
How hurt was anyone taken to the hospital?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's a level of like, and they're kind of like, whoa, that's really cool. It's also super weird. We stepped foot into your world for a second, but I think we like it over on this side.
Yeah.
And then everything's good.
That's the
They're
goal.
sick.
And that's
Kinda.
the goal.
That's great.
Right.
Very
right.
cool. Well, in order to not keep you a best kept secret, it's Mondo Lucha on everything to follow, at Mondo Lucha
Yes,
on all the
yes.
social media.
Yep.
The website, I'm sure, is mondolucha.com.
Website sucks right now, guys. Just no one go to the website. It hasn't been updated.
Social media instead.
Yes,
Stick to social media.
Stick
We're
to
good.
social media. That's where, that's where we do most of our updating. Show October 28th is the big one at Turner Hall.
Yep.
That will be at this point. I think only standing room tickets remain. Maybe a few general admission. That as we get closer to the show, it'll sell out like a month before.
Yeah.
For
Most
sure.
likely. So if anyone's interested in coming, it'll be awesome. I mean, we bust our butts to try to make sure it's like fun, and if you've never been to it, it will rock your world.
That's awesome.
It will absolutely rock
As
your
somebody
world.
that's been there,
Mark
yes.
it down.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much for doing that. And if you do want to check out this show, if this is your first time listening, thank you. You can find us anywhere that you get your podcasts. We are Hustling Sideways. You can subscribe. You can rate us 5 stars. It's the only one you're contractually obligated to give us
Correct.
a 5-star
There's
rating.
no other
It's
option,
good.
actually.
No,
So
I
it
know.
works
Legally,
out well.
you cannot do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
We
So thank
won't
you.
even let you do it in the App Store.
Correct.
So give us the 5-star rating. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube as well. We're Hustling Sideways everywhere. If you've got a side hustle of your own, you can hit us up. It's hustlingsideways@gmail.com.
At Gmail. There you go.
Gmail@gmail.com.
Yes.
Probably works for somebody.
I'm sure it does.
We
Yeah.
should reserve that if we
Yes.
didn't.
Oh,
HustlingSideways@gmail.com is the one. And thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Jay and Jim.
keep on hustling.
See you next time.